2024 edition of Bold Revisions. What was something you foresaw before the season began that you want to mulligan on right now? Neek, you want to correct yourself on a rookie quarterback?
Yeah, I thought Caleb Williams was going to hit the ground running, take the league by storm, and be one of the best first overall picks we had ever seen. He's just taking a little time. He might kick it in around midseason, guys. So I was expecting him to start fast, and he's starting slow.
We talked about the expectations all summer. So far, that's biting them. Jeff, how about the team in the AFC North?
Oh, AFC North, the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson stinks. And I thought they were going to be so much better than this. I know Bill Callahan left. He went with his son down to Tennessee, so I knew their offensive line would take a little bit of time. But my word, this has just been dismal. And I picked them to be high. I thought they would push for it. Obviously, I was wrong.
Yeah, maybe you were high. Kmart, you want to redo your entire Super Bowl prediction?
All right, hear me out. So I picked the 49ers over the Bengals because Joe Burrow's healthy. The Bengals are going to take the AFC North.
Yeah, they're 1-5 now, those two teams.
So here's my redo. I'm going to pick the Bills over the Packers in the Super Bowl. Josh Allen, that team, that offense. Josh looks happy.
Josh Allen versus Malik Willis in the Super Bowl? Is that what
Clearly,
you're
that is the Super Bowl matchup I'm picking.
Hawk, how about an NFC team you no longer believe in?
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, they didn't do much in the offseason, but I didn't waver. I'm like, this is a really good team with a really good quarterback, and they were going to contend for a Super Bowl. I no longer believe that because in back-to-back weeks, this defense has proved that anybody could rush for 5 yards to carry. Behind the right offensive line, Greeny would average 5+ yards to carry against this run-stop defense. So there's no way they could play in the Super Bowl playing.
I'm insulted by that. Teams are averaging 7.7 yards per play against.
Come on, we got to have some level of realistic,
Okay,
right?
so yesterday, as I just mentioned on SportsCenter, was the day we have been waiting for all of our lives. There was a poll taken in Dallas that shows that most Cowboy fans believe that Jerry Jones is the biggest issue with the franchise right now. So Jerry was asked about it, and here's what he said.
That's very fair. How could you think otherwise? It's well known that no decision is ultimately made there for what I either have acquiesced or approve it. That's the way it is. I'm not trying to say this, but if you look at who's won the games over the last 4 or 5 years, Kansas City has, of course, but we're not far right. We're right in that pack.
So let's try and make it clear what I think he's saying. I'm looking at why are you making that face?
Because he did I thought he was taking accountability all morning when I was listening to this sound. And then I listened to it again, and I heard the part where he refused to fully take accountability. Right. My bad, very fair on me, period. But we did win a lot of games.
Yes, exactly.
They have
At the end, he compared himself to the Chiefs. They haven't won important games. Yeah. Let's make sure we can differentiate winning games and important games. When he threw that last little bit in, that was shady by Jerry.
I used to apologize like that. I didn't. I'm sorry for how I acted. But what you said, though, stop it, Jerry. Just say my bad and move on. I'll do better.
Here's the thing. He's right. Part of him is absolutely right. The Cowboys have been a very good team for the last several years. Let's not go back through 25 years of history or whatever it is. They've won 12 games in 3 consecutive seasons. He has led the horse to water. They haven't been able to drink. The question is, has that been Jerry Jones's fault or not?
So your job as a general manager is to get your team from good to great. So the pieces and parts that you know you're missing, you go put on your football team. He hasn't done that. He continues to sign his same guys without the addition of free agents that he knows that can take them over the cusp. That's the problem. When you saw what happened to them against Green Bay and you saw them run right down the middle between the tackles, go fix that problem because you know it's a copycat league. Next year, teams are going to do the same. You knew that your run game struggled. You didn't go get Derrick Henry during the season. You waited. Now you go get a great backfield from 2017, 2018. Go make those changes. That's why it's his fault, because you have to improve in areas as a general manager, and he did not.
I completely agree. To say you're right there with the Kansas City Chiefs is delusional. And
Thank you. No, he's talking about they have won in the same span. They have won the same amount of games.
I understand what he's talking about, but to Jeff's point, there is a level of excellence on the Kansas City Chiefs roster and in their coaching staff that get them over that hump in the playoffs. I respect the level of delusion. When I see people talking about Idris Elba, I'm like, I'm right there. You know, like I have that mindset. But the reality It's the reality. And once you get to the playoffs, if you don't have the players on your roster or your team to compete with the elite level teams, because it is a larger gap between good to great than there is between good teams and terrible teams.
Absolutely.
That Idris Elba thing.
Come on, don't be hating. You right there, Hawk. You right there on the doorstep. You
not letting Kim talk me off.
Don't let Kim hate on you.
You right there. I mean, if you look win to win in the regular season,
You and Idris,
I got a lot of
neck and neck.
And when you just get in the playoffs, it's a different story.
and I haven't reached my peak yet.
So what we're saying here is that you are to Idris Elba as the Cowboys are to Kansas City.
Basically,
I think that's a reasonable way to put it. Here's what I would say, Kmart. You grade this comment. I believe that Jerry Jones, the owner, has let down Jerry Jones, the general manager. Jerry Jones, the general manager, has done a very good job. They've drafted well. They've developed well. You know what they haven't done? They haven't filled in the holes that need to be filled in, and that's what the owner does. The owner authorizes that spending. The owner doesn't treat the free agency like it starts in September. The owner doesn't sign a player to the richest contract in NFL history an hour before the season begins so that he couldn't afford to sign anyone when free agency was actually going on. They didn't add the little bits and pieces because the owner, for whatever reason, has not been willing to spend the money necessary. Their cash out, their spending has been the lowest in the NFL over that period of time. Jerry, as an owner, has let down Jerry as a general manager.
Because when you have a general manager in place, that is a second set of eyes, a second person who, besides the head coach, that is going to sit with the owner and say, listen, hey, we need this, we need that, we need to fill these holes. Jerry is literally that person's like, we're good. And to Jeff's point earlier, the same things that are plaguing them now is what plagued them last year. It's why a lot of us were confused when Derrick Henry was on the Titans, and at the trade deadline, Dallas did not make the call to inquire, hey, can we get Derrick Henry because we can use some oomph here, and Derrick Henry's out of our price range. Like, we can't afford that, brother. It's ridiculous. Like, well, last year, or earlier this offseason, you could have, especially when Derrick Henry was sitting there in Texas training thinking, why is my phone not ringing? Also, why is Hawk towering? Oh, what is happening?
You got the low chair.
He's a very tall man, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, there are issues, I think, with Jerry Jones, obviously, but the big thing that jumps out to me when he compares himself to the Chiefs is the Chiefs have found different ways to win. They've evolved with the game and with their roster. The Cowboys are still approaching this game the same way they always have, and it's not working out for them.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The difference between the Cowboys and the Chiefs is two people. It's Patrick Mahomes and it's Andy Reid. And that's
who's in charge of hiring the head coach,
though? The Chiefs. Veach, their general manager, the year they lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their offensive line got worked, what did they go do? Bought an offensive line.
I'm with you.
Got it straight. There is a difference in the entire organization because the way it is run from general manager down to quarterback with the head coach.
Last year was the defensive Super Bowl. I mean, I know we're going to chalk it up to Patrick Mahomes, but the reason why they ran through that playoffs and they had a chance to win the Super Bowl was because they drafted well and developed well with Spagnuolo in that defense.
Absolutely.
That's my point. That's how you evolve. That's how you stay competitive. That's how you win in the playoffs. And of course, Patrick Mahomes matters, but that wasn't the difference to me last year.
And as an organization, that's how you end up with the Patrick Mahomes in the first place.
Right.
And having Alex Smith on your roster, right? Like, it's a lot harder to spend your own money than it is for a general manager to do it. There's a level of objectivity that is just not there when you are the owner and the general manager. The reality is there is 4 moves that could have been made that would have the Cowboys season in a different place. Derrick Henry is one. Going to get a beefy interior lineman who can stop the run is number 2. And signing CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott well before training camp so that it doesn't throw off your offensive chemistry for the first 3 games of the season. Again, puts your whole organization in a different situation.
The beefy interior. Like, we were talking about this last year. That's the problem with the Cowboys. It's Jerry, we're not the smartest people in the room, but there are things that are glaringly obvious with this team that were not addressed, and it's the same stuff.
And it's not just that. It's every level of an interior part of their defense. It's line, linebacker, and just carry it all the way through, which, by the way, is the spine of every defense. So if you don't understand that as a general manager, go hire one that does and goes and fixes that problem.
All that is fair. And just so I can clarify what I meant by what I said, the Cowboys have won in the regular season at about the same rate that the Chiefs have. What separates teams in the playoffs? The greatest quarterback of all time and an all-time great coach. That, to me, is what makes a big difference when it gets to general.
I 100% agree. Let me say this, too. As much as we talk about the Cowboys, make no mistake, when teams go play the Chiefs, there's a different level of intensity. You go play that team than you go play the Cowboys. I get everybody loves it. When you go play those Kansas City Chiefs, bro, you are gamed up. You are ready because you know everybody in the league is watching you play the best. There's a different level of intensity. I like the Cowboys. I ain't hyped up to go play the Cowboys. I'm freaking fired up to go beat a Mahomes-led team. There's a difference in that every week as well.
You know,
and the idea that the bar is 12-win regular seasons. That's the difference between the two organizations.
Right.
Because the Chiefs would never tout that they've won 12 games. They're going for Super Bowls, and they play like it at the beginning of the season, late in the season, and especially when they get in the playoffs.
Let them know.
As Jerry said, they've been hanging around the rim, and sometimes teams hang around the rim too long, and all of a sudden they miss their window, and now the team is running back, and there's a fast break going back in the other direction.